The Coalition High Command's Grand Chamber had once been a symbol of power and unity. Now, it crackled with static-laced transmissions and the echo of shouting diplomats. Around the vast star map, dozens of species clustered, scaled, furred, feathered and tentacled, glaring at the rapidly disappearing dots along the galaxy's outer reach. Each dot had once been a fully functioning outpost or trade station. Now, 17 colonies gone, growled Admiral Yesker of the Varnak brood, slamming a talon against the data console. No warning, no survivors, no demands. The Null do not negotiate. They don't even leave wreckage, muttered Liaison Threx of the Hestari. His forearms crossed in frustration. He stared at the red glowing void on the star map. They arrive. They erase. They vanish. Maybe they're after someone specific, suggested a Solari empath, flicking her fronds. The Varnak. The core. Threx smirked. Or maybe the humans. Oh, I forgot. They're too busy herding cows and broadcasting cooking shows. The chamber rippled with tired laughter. Humans. Curiosity, really. They had joined the Coalition 200 years ago, barked about freedom and sovereignty, then promptly vanished into quiet isolation. Most saw them as unpredictable, primitive, and mostly irrelevant. A Varnak commander hissed. Even if Earth wanted to help, they have no fleet. Their ships are outdated, at best. Threx chuckled dryly. Unless, of course, they've been hiding something. Again more laughter. But no one laughed 16 hours later when Earth's moonbase, Luna Command, received the activation code. Commander Elena Ruiz stood alone in the control tower, watching the stars shimmer through the reinforced glass. She was lean, dark-eyed, with streaks of gray in her tightly tied bun. The buzz of encrypted comms surrounded her like a second skin. Then the signal came. Her wrist console flashed a string of words she had trained her entire life to receive. Project Aegis. Deploy. No fanfare. No preamble. Just orders. Ruiz inhaled deeply. Patch me through to Neptune Relay. Priority Omega-1. Her adjutant's hands trembled slightly. Ma'am, are you sure? Ruiz turned slowly, her face unreadable. Neptune Relay. Now. In the pitch-black void beyond Neptune's orbit, where no official traffic was allowed, a sudden ripple distorted the emptiness. Sensors, even the most advanced, would have missed it. But the stars blinked, once, and then were obscured by something vast. From the shadows emerged the Aegis. It was not a ship. It was a declaration. Nearly 2 kilometers long, its obsidian hull bore no insignia, no flag and no exposed weapons. But under the skin, it pulsed with hidden power. The hull bristled with retractable launch bays, kinetic cannons and stealth drone hives. At the center, a quantum core reactor the size of a city block, humming to life. She had been silent for 74 years. Now she awakened. The Coalition's forward observation array at Tralus 9 picked up the anomaly 20 minutes later. Unknown vessel, non-coalition design, emerging from stealth at Sector 97 Gamma. Admiral Yesker's mandibles twitched. What ship dares to enter active war space? Threx squinted at the data feed. No signature match in the database. But the architecture, it's human? A moment later the transmission came through. Clear, calm, undeniable. This is Commander Elena Ruiz of the UNS Aegis. Earth is responding to the null threat. All coalition vessels. Maintain current position. We will take point. The Coalition War Council exploded in disbelief. Preposterous. A bluff. They never had a fleet. Threx alone leaned forward, talons tapping thoughtfully. Unless, they built it where no one was looking. Inside the Aegis's central command bridge, Commander Ruiz stood before a holographic display of the incoming null wave. 3 enemy ships. Large, fast, with a ripple-like signature that made them hard to track. Their method of attack was pure erasure. Fusion lances that reduced matter to atomized clouds. Launch Scorpion Wing, Ruiz ordered. Deploy ghost vectors at Delta Formation. I want predictive pathing, not reaction fire. Captain Darnell Voss, her XO and longtime grumbler-in-chief, raised an eyebrow. That's 20 stealth drones and 40 fighters against 3 Annihilation-class ships. Then it's not a fair fight for them, Ruiz replied stone-faced. Voss chuckled. I missed this lunacy. The Coalition fleet formed a defensive crescent just behind the Aegis, unwilling to trust it, but too shocked to interfere. As the null ships approached, black arcs of energy charged around their hulls. And then the battlefield erupted. Aegis launched first. Scorpion Wings fighters zipped into a spiral formation, throwing off the null's targeting systems. Meanwhile, the ghost vectors activated their refractive cloaks, firing kinetic needles laced with nanite disruptors directly into the enemy's exhaust veins. The null ship shimmered and buckled. One of its spines cracked. A pulse of railgun fire from Aegis followed, punching through its shielding like wet paper. The Coalition ships gaped in stunned silence. No lag time. How are their targeting systems so accurate? Yesker muttered. They predicted the null's formation before it stabilized. Threx murmured, awed. They read the enemy's mind. Within minutes, the second null ship faltered. Its propulsion died in a spark of collapsed gravity, and its body drifted into a slow, silent spiral. The third ship tried to retreat. Aegis didn't let it. Ruiz narrowed her eyes. Engage Railstorm Protocol. The entire belly of the Aegis opened. 12 railgun ports emerged, glowing like the eyes of an angry god. The thunder rolled silently through the void. The last null ship disintegrated. After the battle, a call came through from the Coalition flagship. Ruiz accepted it. Admiral Yesker appeared on screen, his mandibles still. You are Earth military. Yes, Ruiz replied. Project Aegis was built as a final deterrent against extinction. We hoped we'd never need it. Threx appeared beside Yesker. You could have shared this with the Coalition. Ruiz's jaw tightened. We tried once, 100 years ago. We offered drone specs and railgun designs. Your council rejected them as barbaric, called us unstable. Threx flinched. We didn't vanish out of fear, Ruiz continued. We vanished to prepare. Yesker gave a grudging nod. And now, Ruiz stepped forward. Now we lead. The transmission ended. Silence lingered in the Coalition war chamber. Across dozens of systems, the image of the Aegis, its black hull looming like a shadow of judgment, spread across screens and feeds. The galaxy remembered Earth. Not as a laughingstock, not as a backwater, but as something far older, far more dangerous. A predator that had gone silent and returned. Chapter 1 Recap. Main events. The Null continued to annihilate Coalition outposts. Earth's hidden supercarrier, Aegis, is activated and reveals itself. Ruiz leads the Aegis into battle, utterly decimating a null wave. Earth reintroduces itself to the galaxy, not as a victim but as a hidden juggernaut. Character highlights. Ruiz emerges as a brilliant, cool-headed leader. Voss adds grizzled wit and emotional grounding. Threx shifts from sarcasm to awe. His perspective begins to change. Emotional and thematic beats. Underdog transformation. The weight of secrecy and sacrifice. Humanity's quiet wrath and strategic brilliance. The Grand Council chamber of the Galactic Coalition was not used to silence. The amphitheater, large enough to hold a planetary summit, echoed with nothing but the slow hum of rotating security drones. Hundreds of envoys, ministers, and admirals stared at the floating hollow projection, a still image of the Aegis hovering like a leviathan over the ruined battlefield of Sector 97 Gamma. The null ships were gone. Earth's supercarrier had left no debris, just a message. We will lead. For a long moment no one spoke. Then, predictably, it began. This is madness, snapped Chancellor Vyrax of the Core Dominion. Her 3 eyes flickered with outrage. Humans kept this weapon hidden for decades. If they can build one, what else are they hiding? Or who else are they planning to use it on next? Hissed a Riggery envoy. A small, reedy voice rose from the shadows. Ambassador Threx. Perhaps we should ask them. Dozens of heads turned. Ask them. Virax sneered. They just defied protocol and took independent military action. They could have started a war. They ended one, Threx said simply. Then. You've gone soft, Threx. No. Just smarter. Hours later, in a private channel only the High Council used during wartime, Commander Ruiz received the transmission. The Coalition requested a diplomatic audience. Not on Earth, but aboard Aegis. Ruiz accepted. Aboard the Aegis. Diplomatic Bay 3. Coalition protocol dictated that a diplomatic bay be sterile, neutral, and transparent, an unthreatening space for negotiation. Aegis's interpretation was slightly different. The chamber was dark steel, polished but imposing. Not a throne room, but not far from it. The walls hummed faintly, as if the ship itself listened. The long meeting table was surrounded by holographic archives, combat footage, null ship specs, tactical overlays, all projected with cold precision. Ruiz stood at the head of the table, flanked by her XO Captain Darnell Voss, Chief Strategist Dr. Amina Lee, and AI Liaison Unit LWX, a soft-voiced intelligence that monitored every system of the Supercarrier. The Coalition delegation arrived amid a faint mist of sterilization gas. Admiral Yesker, Chancellor Virax, and, unexpectedly, Threx. As they took their seats, Ruiz noted how none of them made eye contact. Except Threx. He looked curious. Ruiz opened. I'm told you have concerns. Chancellor Virax didn't waste time. You hid a Dreadnought-class vessel for 70 years. You've refused open collaboration for decades. Your entire presence here is a breach of Coalition authority. Ruiz clasped her hands behind her back. If authority had stopped the null, you wouldn't be sitting in my ship. Beat of silence. A smirk. Nice one. Dr. Lee chimed in, cool and clinical. You've lost 37 colonies in 2 months. The null are immune to your jamming protocols, your plasma barriers, and even some of your stealth tech. But they weren't immune to kinetic rail strikes or nanite-fused shrapnel. Earth designed for this eventuality. You designed for extinction, Threx murmured. Ruiz nodded. Exactly. Flashback. Earth 74 years ago. Deep beneath the Andes Mountains, Earth's hidden coalition of defense scientists and military strategists had gathered in an underground war room, debating how to prepare for what they saw in leaked coalition data. Exponential galactic threats, political instability, and a growing trend of ignoring humanity. It won't be long before someone decides Earth is expendable, General Sloan had said. So they built a ship not for war, but for survival. Aegis, the last resort. The silent spear behind Earth's diplomatic smile. Back to present. Threx was now pacing slowly around the holoprojections. What do you intend, Commander? Are you offering leadership? Or ultimatum? Ruiz didn't hesitate. Neither. We're offering a strategy that works. And if you don't trust us, fine. You're free to lose another 30 colonies while you debate it. Yesker's mandibles twitched. You said strategy. What do you propose? Dr. Lee turned to a new projection. A map of star systems. Based on the null's attack vectors and timing, we believe they're not just targeting population hubs. They're looking for something. Or someone. Threx raised an eyebrow. What could they be looking for? Ruiz gave a thin smile. That's the question, isn't it? World building. The null's mystery deepens. According to the classified data the Aegis had pulled from destroyed null wreckage, the enemy's ships weren't fully mechanical or biological, but a form of phase-state intelligence. They reacted not to threats but to patterns of activity, as if following breadcrumbs left by something older. They weren't invading for conquest. They were hunting. And Earth had seen this pattern before. In their own deep ocean biosphere millennia ago, primitive Earth creatures had followed prey not by sight, but by ripple, resonance, and heat decay. The Null were ancient hunters evolved across dimensions, tracing civilizations by the energy of their expansion. The Coalition's tech. Loud, sprawling, inefficient. Earth's stealth-focused, decentralized Black Ops military. Nearly invisible. They'd lasted this long by understanding when not to shout in a galaxy full of ears. Character moment, Voss and Threx. After the tense meeting, Voss found Threx standing on one of the Aegis's side-viewing platforms, watching the flicker of nearby star systems. "You didn't expect this," Voss said, offering the alien a cup of steaming tea. Threx accepted with a curious glance. "No, I thought humans were bluster. Emotion. I didn't expect precision. Calculation. Patience." Voss chuckled. "We let you think that. It was easier." "Why?" "Because while you were arguing about forming committees, we were planning for when those committees failed." Threx sipped the tea. "It's bitter. So are we." Conflict escalates. The Council's vote. Back in the Coalition chamber, the emergency vote was cast. Dozens of species still mistrusted Earth. Several envoys lobbied to place the Aegis under joint command. Some, especially the outer colony representatives, pleaded to follow Earth's lead before more were lost. It was close. But when Threx returned to cast the deciding vote, his voice was clear. "I vote to grant Earth temporary strategic command. Not because they are strong but because they are prepared." The measure passed. Barely. Ruiz was now officially the strategic director of Null Defense Operations. Chapter closes. A message intercepted. As the Aegis prepared to lead the first joint offensive strike into suspected Null origin space, OX interrupted with an alert. "Incoming signal. Encrypted. Not Coalition." Ruiz frowned. "Source. Unknown. Tracing." The screen blinked to life, revealing a symbol. An ancient Earth icon. Pre-human. Spiral. Then a voice. Distorted. Familiar somehow. "You woke the storm, children of Sol. Now it remembers you." The signal cut. Everyone in the command deck was silent. Ruiz looked to Voss. He whispered, "What the hell did we just provoke?" Ruiz stared into the stars. And whispered back, "Something that remembers us better than we remember ourselves." Chapter 2 Summary. Main events. Coalition debates Earth's sudden military reveal. Ruiz hosts a tense diplomatic meeting aboard the Aegis. Earth shares its theory. The Null are hunters, not conquerors. Coalition narrowly votes to grant Earth strategic control. A strange, ancient signal is intercepted, implying a deeper connection. Character developments. Ruiz shows she's more than a commander. She's a strategist. Voss reveals Earth's philosophy of quiet preparation. Threx shifts from skeptic to cautious supporter. Yesker remains suspicious but impressed. Major conflicts/turning points. Coalition nearly denies Earth leadership. Null threat becomes more mysterious. Signal at the end hints at a deeper, more ancient danger. Emotional/thematic beats. Themes of trust versus control. Humanity's role as the underestimated force. Echoes of ancient history returning. Tension, awe, and strategic momentum build. The Aegis glided through the shadowed void beyond Coalition space, the stars reduced to distant pinpricks behind its stealth-shielded hull. This was no longer a simple patrol. It was a mission into the unknown heart of the Null threat. Commander Elena Ruiz stood on the bridge, the holographic map of the Null's last known sector rotating slowly before her. The map flickered with sensor pings, false positives, echoes, and patterns no other coalition ship had ever seen. "This isn't just a hunt," she told her officers. "This is a trap." The Coalition fleet under command. The Coalition ships, a mixed fleet of cruisers and frigates, followed cautiously behind the Aegis, their sensors dull against the Null's interference. The fleet's commanders were tense, used to overwhelming firepower, but uncertain how to fight an enemy that could erase matter itself. Admiral Yesker's voice came over the comms. "Commander Ruiz, your tactics are unconventional but effective. Keep us alive. Ruiz nodded but did not reply aloud. She knew the fleet was counting on her not just for strategy but for hope. Aegis's secret, the hunter's ghost. Below decks, Chief Strategist Dr. Amina Lee studied the incoming Null data stream alongside OX, the ship's AI. The Null aren't just attacking randomly, Lee murmured. They're systematically seeking something, or someone, emitting a signature consistent with advanced quantum entanglement. Like a beacon, OX responded in its calm, almost soothing voice. One that traces a pattern back to Earth. Lee's fingers danced across the console. If that's true, the Null are more than hunters, they're trackers. And they've been waiting for us. Crew moments, the weight of silence. In the crew quarters, Captain Voss sat with a handful of officers, quietly sharing rations. The mood was subdued but respectful, a family bound by shared trials. One young pilot, Lieutenant Nira, nervously laughed. So, we're the galaxy's best-kept secret. Nobody knew we had a supercarrier. What else don't they know? Voss smiled wryly. Plenty. That's Earth style. Punch first, explain later. But what if the Null win? Nira's voice cracked. Then we don't win, Voss replied firmly. But we fight like hell to make sure they don't. Tactical twist. The Null's bait. Back on the bridge, Ruiz's eyes narrowed. Sensors detected a faint but growing energy signature ahead, one that matched the Null's own tech but at a fraction of the power. Isolate the signal, she ordered. Could be a trap, OX confirmed. Signal frequency aligns with Null energy, but the pattern is inconsistent. It's a lure, Ruiz said grimly. They want us to follow. She looked to Admiral Yesker on the comm. Prepare the fleet for evasive maneuvers. I want all weapon systems ready. Moments later, the fleet's scanners erupted with a new threat. 3 massive, swirling energy vortices appeared ahead, distorting space and matter around them. Null portals. Those are gateways, Threx said quietly over the tactical channel. They're not just hunting, they're bringing reinforcements. Aegis versus the vortex. Ruiz smiled thinly. Then let's show them what Earth's hunters look like. The Aegis activated its experimental phase disruptor array, a weapon designed to destabilize the energy vortices. This was untested technology, risky but potentially devastating. The array emitted low-frequency pulses, rippling through the space-time around the portals. One by one, the vortices shrieked and collapsed, sucking themselves inward until nothing remained but silence. The fleet cheered, but the Null ships emerged from the shadows with renewed fury, attacking from multiple vectors. Battle. Humanity's unpredictable edge. The battle was brutal and chaotic. The Null's waves crashed against the Coalition line, but the Aegis danced through their attacks, using stealth drones and micro-missiles to sow confusion. Ruiz's tactics were unorthodox. Feints, unpredictable angles of attack, and calculated retreats that lured the Null into crossfires. The Coalition fleet, previously rigid and hesitant, began to adapt, inspired by Earth's boldness. Voss barked commands, rallying the pilots. Remember, they don't fight like us. Think faster. Be unpredictable. At one point, a Null ship locked onto the Aegis with a fusion lance beam. Ruiz ordered emergency phase shift, using the ship's stealth tech to slip just out of the beam's path and retaliate with a full railgun volley, destroying the enemy flagship. The Null withdrew, but the message was clear. Earth was no longer a silent backwater. Character moments, Ruiz and Threx. After the battle, Ruiz and Threx met in the war room. You lead well, Threx admitted. Your people's unpredictability. It's unsettling. Ruiz smiled, tired but proud. That's our edge. When others plan for war, we plan for survival. Threx nodded slowly. And yet, your secrecy nearly cost you trust. We never asked for trust, Ruiz said softly. We earned it. World building. The ancient signal decoded. Meanwhile, Dr. Lee worked feverishly decoding the intercepted signal from Chapter 2. Her discovery stunned even The signal contained fragments of ancient language, proto-human, predating known history by millennia. "It's a warning," Lee said. "From a civilization that faced the null before us." The message detailed how the null hunted civilizations that reached a certain level of technological quantum entanglement, a dangerous threshold that threatened to unravel spacetime itself. "The null don't just destroy," Lee concluded. "They prune the cosmic garden to prevent catastrophic entropy." Closing, the shadow of a greater threat. As the Aegis and Coalition fleet retreated to regroup, Ruiz stared out into the darkness of space. Her voice was low, almost to herself. "We're not just fighting for survival anymore. We're fighting for the right to exist." Voss placed a hand on her shoulder. "And we're just getting started." The stars blinked quietly, but behind them something stirred. Watching, waiting, and remembering. Chapter 3 Summary. Main events. The Aegis leads a coalition fleet deep into null space. They discover null portals, suggesting reinforcements and traps. Using new experimental tech, they collapse the portals and fight a brutal battle. Earth's unpredictable tactics inspire the coalition fleet. An ancient proto-human warning about the null is decoded. Character developments. Ruiz is confirmed as a brilliant, fearless leader. Threx respects human unpredictability and begins to shift alliance. Voss remains the seasoned, pragmatic backbone. Dr. Lee emerges as a key figure decoding the null mystery. Conflicts and turning points. The null reveal more complex, cosmic motives beyond mere conquest. The coalition fleet begins to trust Earth's leadership. The warning message hints at an even larger cosmic-scale threat. Thematic beats. Humanity's ingenuity and adaptability as its greatest weapons. The cost of secrecy versus trust. The cosmic scale of the conflict, mixing awe and dread. The relentless spirit of survival against impossible odds. The Aegis hung in the void like a sentinel, the coalition fleet arrayed behind it in a cautious formation. The stars were distant jewels, cold and indifferent, but Ruiz's eyes burned with fierce resolve. The ancient warning decoded by Dr. Lee haunted her. The null were not just hunters, they were cosmic gardeners, pruning any civilization that grew too quickly, too dangerously. "We face an enemy that remembers us," Ruiz said quietly. "Not just as humans but as something far older. The question is, do we remember who we are?" The Council's decision. All or nothing. Back at the Galactic Council's chamber, delegates awaited word of the impending offensive. The vote for strategic command had passed, but not without lingering suspicion. Many feared Earth's Supercarrier and its unorthodox tactics would provoke an apocalypse. Ambassador Threx addressed the chamber. "We have learned this. Fear of the unknown blinds us to survival. Earth's boldness gave us a chance. Now we must take it." The Council voted unanimously for a full coalition offensive, with Earth's Aegis at the spearhead. The final approach. Into the null's heart. The null's core sector was a ghostly place. Star systems dimmed by null energy. Entire planets vanished like mirages, and space itself seemed to ripple and warp. The coalition fleet held tight, relying on the Aegis's advanced stealth and sensor tech. Ruiz stood on the bridge, flanked by Voss, Dr. Lee, and the AEGs. The ship's systems hummed with tension. Ruiz's voice was steady but fierce. "This is it. We don't just fight for Earth or the Coalition. We fight for every species out here who doesn't want to vanish." Tactical masterstroke. Turning the hunter's trap. The null unleashed their deadliest weapon. A vast spatial anomaly designed to trap entire fleets in recursive time loops, draining energy and hope. Ruiz smiled grimly. "They want us to get lost in time." Voss looked skeptical. "How do you fight time?" "By outsmarting it." Ruiz ordered the Aegis to activate the temporal phase array, a risky technology that could phase their ships slightly out of sync with normal time. The coalition fleet coordinated, using synchronized pulses to create a narrow corridor through the anomaly. It was a high-stakes gamble. One misstep and they'd be trapped forever. As the null anomaly twisted space around them, the Aegis's hull shimmered and phased, slipping through the temporal loops. Behind them, the fleet followed, narrowly escaping oblivion. Emotional moment. The burden of command. After the fleet cleared the anomaly, Ruiz retreated to her quarters, exhaustion pulling at her limbs. She stared at a holographic image of her late mentor, General Sloan, the man who'd ordered the Aegis's construction decades ago. "Did I do right?" she whispered. "Or did I just lead us to destruction?" The door hissed open. Voss entered quietly. "You did what no one else had the guts to try," he said softly. "And we're still here." Ruiz managed a tired smile. "That's not much, but it's a start." The final battle, Earth's unyielding spirit. At the Null's core, a titanic battle erupted. The Null's massive flagship, a swirling mass of energy and matter, loomed like a nightmare made real. Ruiz commanded the Aegis to lead a direct assault, coordinated with the Coalition fleet's firepower. The Null responded with waves of energy tendrils and dimensional distortions, seeking to tear the fleet apart. But Earth's ingenuity shone brightest. The Aegis deployed nanite swarms designed to disrupt the Null's quantum coherence, fragmenting their energy tendrils and weakening the flagship's core. Dr. Lee coordinated the nanites remotely, her voice steady as she guided the microscopic armies through the chaos. Voss piloted fighter squadrons weaving in and out of Null attacks, buying precious seconds for the fleet. Key turning point. The signal that changed everything. Suddenly, the mysterious ancient signal returned, but this time it was different. Clearer, almost like a voice. "Remember who you are. The storm is not your enemy. It is your legacy." Ruiz's eyes widened. "It's not a warning. It's a message. From us. Or who we were." The AILWX cross-referenced historical and genetic data, concluding the Null's hunt was connected to an ancient pre-human civilization that had once mastered temporal and quantum manipulation, but had been destroyed by their own technology spiraling out of control. "Earth's history is not linear," Ike said. "We are echoes of that storm, and the storm is us." Ruiz nodded. "Then we fight not just for survival, but for redemption." Climax. The collapse of the Null. Using the nanite swarms, temporal phase shifts, and raw coalition firepower, the fleet coordinated a final strike on the Null flagship's core. The flagship shuddered violently, its tendrils unraveling like thread. With a final, echoing pulse, the Null flagship imploded, collapsing into a singularity that dissolved into nothingness. The Null forces scattered, disoriented and leaderless. The galaxy exhaled. Aftermath. The new galactic order. Back on the Galactic Council, the delegates hailed Earth's leadership. Ruiz and her team were celebrated, not just as warriors but as saviors. Ambassador Threx approached Ruiz privately. "You showed us what it means to survive with honor and cunning." Ruiz smiled. "We didn't survive alone." The Coalition agreed to form a new defense pact, with Earth playing a key role in galactic security. Closing scene, a new dawn. As the Aegis sailed homeward through calm starfields, Ruiz gathered her crew on the bridge. This ship was built in secret, for a threat no one believed in. But we survived. We won. She paused, eyes reflecting distant stars. "This is just the beginning." The crew cheered. And somewhere, deep in space, the storm waited, silent but watchful. Chapter 4 Summary. Main events. The Coalition votes to launch a full offensive under Earth's command. The fleet navigates a deadly temporal anomaly. Earth's Aegis leads the final battle against the Null flagship. An ancient signal reveals Earth's deep cosmic connection to the Null threat. The Null flagship is destroyed. The Null scatter. The Coalition forms a new defense alliance, recognizing Earth's role. Character developments. Ruiz faces doubt but proves her leadership and vision. Voss supports Ruiz's burden, embodying camaraderie and loyalty. Dr. Lee's scientific insights are crucial to victory. Threx shifts fully from skeptic to ally. Conflicts/turning points. Navigating the temporal anomaly is a risky gambit. The revelation of Earth's ancient legacy reframes the conflict. The null defeat marks a new chapter for the galaxy. Thematic beats. Humanity's resilience and ingenuity overcome cosmic-scale threats. The balance between fear, trust, and leadership. Redemption through understanding and courage. The unyielding spirit of survival and hope.